And we're back for part 2.
And we've magically changed clothes.
Wow, how did that happen? It's so magical.
Time travel.
Time travel it is, always. So for you, what was kind of your inspiration growing up? What were the comics you would read that you kind of were like, this is for me?
The ones I loved were Legion of Superheroes because they had brown-haired girls, and everything else had either blue hair, blue-toned black hair or blonde hair, which, of course, you grow up and get into the industry and realize that's because brown is a complicated separation that will go wrong quite often. But still, that group had more than one girl, so they had somewhat individualized personalities. Because so often there was the girl who had a personality like the ideal female of anybody who was writing or drawing her.
Yeah.
That there was no consistency. Well, there was minimal consistency.
Yeah.
And certainly not a lot of complication. So that was nice.
It's interesting, it's because I feel like so many groups were underutilized in comics. I feel like they had a formula and they're like, no, this is the formula that works. We have to stick to it. And
you think often it wasn't so much the formula as just what they admired, what they liked, the people
and who they
working
were.
on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like one of the guys teased me one time, came into Dark Horse, and for a while I had my girl action figure collection sign on the wall under Ripley from Aliens, because that was literally the only character out right then. And then after a while, I started finding more girl characters, and Art Adams brought me a bunch of Japanese ones and all that. And I'd have the guys come in and tease me and go, oh, how come you have all the girls on the wall? Are you like a lesbian or something? And I'd say, let's go into your office.
Yeah.
What are all these action figures? But you have that myopia, that you see what you like, you look forward for what you're looking for. And you don't always see what isn't you or isn't your interests.
Absolutely.
So breaking out of that to bring in other people is a studied skill. And sometimes it can go horribly wrong.
Of course.
Marv Wolfman put together a project for a textbook publisher that I worked on. And it was one of those Gene Roddenberry casts where you have somebody of every ethnicity and then you give them a specific personality. And the thing I remember that drove me crazy is we had this young Muslim kid as one of the characters. And he was supposed to be funny in our Bible. So in my script, I'd given him a couple of funny lines to say.
Yeah.
And then the textbook proctors came back and said, oh, no. He can't say anything funny. And we go, why not? Well, that might suggest that we think that all Muslims are funny. We go, well, at least this one is. This one is. that sometimes that people make the mistake of thinking to incorporate a different ethnicity, gender, something like that they have to go to a streamlined cliche that includes everything and forget about making a character.
Exactly.
And that's where it becomes interesting, is when it becomes a character.
Because everyone's different, You look at a million different characters and they have little different quirks, just every different person, and that's what makes great writing as opposed to just, someone who's kind of phoning it in and saying, oh, this is just the traditional this kind of character.
Or there's a story I use about writing, where I said writing is sometimes the art of saying, here's my favorite ice cream flavor. Here's something else. I said, for instance, in my case, I cannot stand Rocky Road ice cream. I can't stand it visually. I can't stand the texture. I can't stand the flavor. I don't know why it exists. I think it's a horrible abomination. So one of the exercises is, okay, if I'm this character, they like Rocky Road ice cream.
Yeah.
So, sort of throw yourself into
Someone
another
else's
world,
shoes.
another point of view. So then one of my dearest friends came out to Tampa to visit me. We go to Baskin Robbins. We walked in there, and she said, they have Rocky Road ice cream. I love Rocky Road. And I said, I have been writing you all my life.
Yeah, exactly. You can pull different things from them, too, and be like, it's so funny because it's finding that little differences and going out of your comfort zone. Just because somebody doesn't like something doesn't mean that everyone is not going to like it, or there's...
Well, but it's also a matter of technique and style, because some people can sort of go into an improv head and just pretend to be somebody else and start writing or drawing. Other people have to go at it very studiously and create lists or grids or D&D attributes almost, and go at it that way. But still, it's I guess mine. I keep saying I was born in 1960. The 60s and 70s are when I grew up, and Gene Roddenberry's universe is the one I want to live in. I want some of everybody, and so I keep trying to pull people in until my boat's filled with some of, until I've collected all the sets.
Were you a big Star Trek fan growing up?
I was not that big a Star Trek. Oh, okay. When I thought I was a Star Trek fan, when watching them on reruns, when I lived in Texas, down the road from the NASA center there, and my friends and I played Star Trek games. We were usually like the kids, because the people on the show were so old. So we were their kids and all that, and we'd make up our adventures. When I got to DC Comics and we were working on Who's Who in the Legion, Greenberger kept trying to assign me characters to write. And I'd say, who? Who? Who's that? We went through the list. Apparently, I'd only seen like 10 or 12 episodes total. I thought I'd seen them all.
Yeah.
But the same ones repeat.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you feel like you've seen them
so
all.
many of them, and you're like,
But
there's so many of them.
Sadly, my whole Star Trek fandom geek cred fell away. Can't claim it.
I am a fan, but you just weren't, just because you can see a few episodes, you can still be a fan. You don't have to be like a diehard where you watch every episode. You can still love it for what it is.
But that's like what I love that's happening at Comic Cons now is you see so many people coming in enjoying their own weird variant.
Yep.
You have the collectors of things I can't even remember, or franchises that went by briefly and you blinked and they were gone. But because things repeat online or in DVD form or just kind of come around again, or sometimes somebody runs across an image on the internet and just says, that's my image. I love that. What is that? I have to find out more.
And they can combine it with different things too, and they can be like, you know what, I really haven't seen, like ROM. Let's do ROM and mix it with Star Trek, and like
my favorite mashup is Doctor Stranger Things with the Eye of Agamotto.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I have not seen that one in real life. I've just seen that one on
the internet,
on the web. But that's
a cool
still my
one.
favorite.
That's a really cool one.
My favorites are the wacky mashups where people where you go, how did that happen?
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, that's a great idea. Why didn't you think of that? Because especially the things that like kind of sounded like Doctor Strange and Stranger Things, like they're just it's natural.
Bad puns are fun.
Bad puns are always fun. You can never go wrong with that.